It is time.
This box arrived just in time.
The thing with Fire Kings is that it's so unforgiving.
That is it for the Fire King engine, nice and simple. Hand traps have taken up quite a lot of this deck. So, game one, we get the feature matchup against Chris again. And there's misplays that I was doing all day where forgetting to activate things.
I was playing it wrong the entire time.
It is Friday and this box arrived just in time. This has got a load of the cards in that I'm going to need ready for this weekend, so I'm very glad that it's come.
It is time. The green deck box makes way for the red deck box. This is the Fire King deck. It is pretty much ready to go. I've got today, Saturday, the day before locals, to make my final changes, practice, make sure I've got all the combos down. The thing with Fire Kings is that it's so unforgiving. If you do something in the wrong order, or if your opponent interrupts at the wrong time, it can really mess up your entire combo. So I just need to make sure that I memorize everything that the cards do. So even if I do run into one of these situations where my Snake Eye Ash gets negated, I've still got another workaround to make sure that I can actually make a play, because it's very unforgiving if you don't.
So I'm going to give you a really quick rundown of my Fire King deck just before we go to locals. So we have got Ponix, Garunix, 3 Kirin, 1 Arbata, 1 regular Garunix, 1 Fire King Island, and 1 Sanctuary. That is it for the Fire King engine, nice and simple. Snake Eyes, we've got Poplar, Ash, Oak, and Flamberge. And naturally, to go with that, we have got 3 Dear Bellstar, 1 Original, 3 Wanted, and 3 Bonfire. Now, again, these can be switched around, but I think they're pretty good for what I've been practicing so far. Then we've got a few of the new Azumina cards. So we have got 1 Hallowed, would probably have 2, but I only own 1. And 2 Debtors. I'm not running any Deception, purely because I can't justify buying it right now. I know it's a really good card, but I just, want to try this out with the more budget side first before I get into it. And then 2 Miscellaneous with 1 Cool Buy and 1 for 1. Hand traps have taken up quite a lot of this deck. We got 1 Ash, would be 3, but I only own 1 right now. 2 Ghost Ogre, again, would be 3, but I only own 2. So instead we are running 3 Ghost Bell, which I'm actually really enjoying. I think it's better than people give it credit. 3 Effect Veiler, and then finally 3 Imperm. That is the main deck. Next up for the Xyz monsters, we're running 1 High Garunix, 1 Zombie Vampire, and 1 number 38. Next up, we are going for some generics. We've got 1 Relinquished, Heater, Dark, IP, SP, Nightmare Phoenix. And then finally, we have got 1 Sunlight. I'm actually running 2 Promethean Princesses for now, 1 Wild Sea, and then the 2 Azumina fusions in the form of Murcielago and Sylvia.
I apologise for not having the side deck sorted. Side deck is still something that I'm working on, but by the end of today, I will have a side deck. Now, as you can see, that is not the ideal Snake Eye Fire King Azumina setup, but in terms of on a budget and getting all those cards, I think I've done really well. Obviously, there are some that I prefer to switch in, but we just don't have them yet. There are some that I'm looking to maybe pick up at locals tomorrow. I've put in a couple of messages to see if people have got a couple of cards, but I don't want to be borrowing cards. It's something that I've just decided I would rather either own them or not be able to use them, because I think that not everyone has access to someone else's deck that they can then take cards from. So I think for this series, I want to just own the cards or not use them at all. So if I want an Volcanix or a Deception or an Ambler Whale, I've got to put my hand in my pocket, and that's fine. But I don't want to be what I would almost think to myself as like cheating by just using someone else's cards, because then it's not really my deck.
So we just arrived. Sorry for not filming this morning. I was actually running a little bit late. Weather is terrible outside, in case you can't tell. So we are going to run into this shop and just hope we don't get too wet on the way. Right, you good?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, standby. In the standby, act like wanted, sequel the central. Idea about that.
Ash.
Yeah.
Used it right this time as well.
Main phase.
So, game 1, we get the feature matchup against Chris again. I don't know if that's lucky or unlucky. It's lucky that I get to play against Chris and I get to learn all these lessons, but also it's terrible because it means that I pretty much always start my day with a loss. Now, look, this game wasn't perfect by any stretch of the imagination. Quite a few mistakes, as I was expecting, and also Chris just completely shut me out. He created like a great board, nothing I could do against it, and I think what I've realised is if you do get shut out a couple of times and you haven't got the perfect starting hand, you just look at it and go, what can I really do? And there's not much. So the amount of times during the entire tournament, not just this game, where I found myself having to pass with maybe one monster out and then like a 1-star either Snake Eye or Ponix, etc., just because there was nothing else I could do. So I think ahead of next week, I'm definitely going to have to do something about the brickiness. Jesus, that was bad weather. So the bad weather kind of reflects the locals today. Unfortunately, we came last. I can't say that I wasn't expecting it. Look, my Fire King deck, I'm not used to it. It's very complicated. There's lots of different engines to try and remember and think about, and there's misplays that I was doing all day where forgetting to activate things or tributing things in the wrong order, which kind of slipped me up. But just need more practice. I would rather go in today, come last, but have a bit of real life practice, because again, it's very different when you're actually having to use the cards versus getting a ping on Master Duel to say, are you sure you want to do this? Are you sure you want to do that? So I'm hoping it will spell good things to come, but the Snake Eye Fire King Azamina deck that I currently have definitely needs some work. So I just got back home after a last place locals for the first time. Now, look, could it have been better? Yes, but I'm glad that I still went today, used the Fire King deck, lost with it, because now, you know what, I knew after game 3, I went to talk to one of the other guys who plays, he plays pure Fire King, but he knows Snake Eye, so I was playing it wrong the entire time.